In this video, I'm going to give you 5 things to improve on your website. I'm going to challenge you with design, with accessibility, and lots of good stuff. Stay with me. I'm Phil Pallen, a brand strategist. Welcome to my channel where I promise practical advice to build your brand. Today, we are talking about your website and specifically improving it for this year. I'm going to go through 5 tips of things that I think you need to consider this year to make your website even better. Tip number 1, answer the question, who are you and why should I care, before I even have to scroll. This is an example of a website that I've worked on recently by Mark Maynard, so Maynard Consulting. Before I even have to scroll, I can see right away exactly who he is and what he offers. Grow your business beyond its potential, grabs the audience's attention. And then in this little paragraph, we see Mark Maynard, business advisor, grows new and established businesses through, and then describes that. So the goal here is don't make people have to scroll to understand who the heck you are. That's going to really ideally hook your audience right away. Now, obviously, they probably will scroll and want to learn a little bit more about you, but the goal is that they do not have to. So think about what information do I need to tell people? How do I hook them before they have to scroll? That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, accessibility is something you need to consider. This is no longer a light suggestion. This is something that you actually need to think about and implement on your website, potentially to avoid lawsuits. 2 ways to go about this. Think about it up front. So in the design, really every aspect of your website to start with, think about making sure every aspect is accessible. That's tip number 1. That's definitely the more difficult approach. The easier approach here is to rely on a plugin that helps with accessibility. Basically, this will make visual changes to your website depending on someone's needs, their accessibility needs. So we can have a seizure-safe profile, which would prevent anything from strobing and anything else that might affect someone who has epilepsy, for example. We have vision impaired. This is going to make things bigger. It's going to change the contrast and just some other changes for people who are visually impaired. ADHD friendly. This is one of my favorites. I think this is incredible. This helps people focus, on certain content without overwhelming them with lots of things. And you can see more examples here. This is all using my favorite plugin for accessibility called Accessibee. I will link to this in the description below. I'm a partner with them, an affiliate. So if you use my link to sign up for their service, I do get a small commission. Thank you for that if you use it. But again, as you can see, it's one that I actually use myself. And I just love the peace of mind that this gives me to not have to worry about, a lawsuit, for example. Let's keep going. Next example is custom design and construction, a website I worked on recently, and the tip here is better photography. When I talk about building your brand, the number 1 step or stage in building your brand that you should never skimp on is photography. That's even more important than a logo, for example. Let's say you're just launching your business, put your logo or put the name of your business in a good font. Focus on having really beautiful photography that grabs people's attention. Good photography really makes a product or a service feel so valuable, and it really is worth the expense, the time to, the investment to make sure your photography is awesome. Now, if you have good photography, fantastic. If it's a few years old, think about maybe some updates that you can make so that your online brand recreates that in-person experience as closely as possible. We put so much effort into our outfits and how we show up in real life. You should put the same effort into how you show up online. So tip number 3 is better photography. Let's keep going. Now, one thing actually before I give you the next tip is if you're wondering, how do I get the images to be smaller for my website so they load faster? This is a free tool that I use called Compressor.io. So as you're getting that photography for your brand, try not to upload the full size on your website because it's going to be really slow. DIY website builders like Squarespace or Wix typically have compression built into their platforms, but Compressor.io is a free tool that I'll link to in the description below that helps you actually reduce file size. So in this example, I uploaded an image on this website. It was 1.65 megabytes before. Now it's 184 kilobytes. That's 90% size saved, in image size. So that's going to load way faster. Download that, upload it to your website. You are good to go. Let's keep going. Tip number 4, make calls to action stand out. For this example, I'm using Maxity.com, my Colleen Del Vecchio. And I'm highlighting here not necessarily a call to action action. But something really cool you can do in a platform like Squarespace, this is a new feature, is you can actually draw attention to a certain word with a text effect like this. So if I double click this word, you'll see I've got this highlighter effect enabled. You could change it to a circle. Super cool. You could change it to an underline. You've got some really exciting options if you want to draw attention to a certain word or call to action. So I'll jump out of edit mode here. You want to make sure you're thinking about your text size, your language, very simple, clear, easy to understand, and simple to take action on, buttons that look and feel exciting, and really just making sure your calls to action are clear. That is my fourth tip. Let's move on to my final tip. This is my client, Dana of Back of the Napkin Consulting. And I think her website is a really good example of tip number 5, follow widely accepted best practices in web design. What do I mean by that? Your logo in the top left or right or middle should link to your homepage always. That's what people click on to get back to home. So follow those rules. As well, the ordering of your pages is something to think about. Your about page should typically come first. That's what people want to know. Services, okay? How can we work with you? Blog, or sometimes resources it's called. And then finally, contact is usually the one that should come at the end. That's the call to action you're wanting people to take. Resources or blog, I think both of those work well for what that's describing. But final tip within this, following best practices, don't get too crazy with what you name your pages, right? Otherwise, people aren't going to click it. This is really not the place to get super creative. You want people to understand what they're clicking to get the information they need. So a few tips in following best practices: your hyperlinked logo, the ordering of your pages, and then the naming of your pages should be really simple and streamlined and easy to follow. So I'd love to hear from you. Any of these tips that you plan to implement on your website, let me know in the comments below. I respond to those personally. If you enjoyed this video, which we recorded live for the first time, go ahead and give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more of my content here on branding, positioning, building, and promoting your brand. Next, I'm sharing a few videos that I think you'll be interested in. I'm Phil Pallen. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back next time. Check these videos out next.